Okay. So it's Thursday, September 15. I will call the meeting to order of the trustees of trust funds. And the first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of last month's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections, additions, changes? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Okay. Passed. All right. The Tommy McCann Trust.
So we received in the check for the Tommy McCann estate, which
How much is the check for?
the check is for $135,311.49.
Wow.
Well,
And you had voted back on September 15th, 2021 to accept the funds when they should come in. So you've already voted to accept the funds. I will deposit the check today. There is some paperwork here for the receipt, asking for Bob's signature on it. Tom, you looked at that, so I don't know if you're okay with it being signed off on.
Well, I actually have a little bit of a request. So
Yeah.
in August, I called you all and everybody by email or telephone authorized the acceptance of the funds and for me to sign a particular release document that I signed to get the check. And I just,
That's this? You've already signed this?
He has
Yes,
not.
I did.
Oh, you did already? Oh, okay.
Bob, you need to talk into the mic.
sorry. So anyway, I'd like to have a vote authorizing or ratifying that.
when did we do this?
In August 26th. Dana's in front of me.
He did.
Great news, I approve the receipt of these funds.
Is that August of 2021?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So over a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just as background, Peter, we were notified by Pierce Atwood that this money was going to be coming about a year and a half or more ago. But they had to probate the estate because we get the residue, so they had to make sure they pay all the bills, et cetera. And then a little over a year ago, they notified us that it was going to be coming and they wanted us, well, we voted to accept the funds
When it came.
when it came in. And then that's why periodically, earlier this year, we were checking with Kathleen to find out what the status was, and she said they're still probating it, and so they've now reached that.
Well, I think it must have been a little over a year ago that you and I both got calls at home from the attorney
That's what,
finding what to do.
that's right. That's what started the process. Yeah.
So will this go into the common athletic fund?
Well, no,
This was-
Peter and I were talking about this. So let's take this a step at a time. So, Bob, you've already reviewed this receipt, and you're comfortable with its terms?
Yes,
Okay.
if you approve it.
All right.
Which
Well,
I think you have, and I think I signed it and sent it back because it's not here.
okay. Well,
Came with the check.
this just came in August of this year.
Oh.
I'd never seen this
Then I
before
haven't.
this morning.
Yeah, I showed it to you when I came up, Bob, but you wanted to wait. You wanted to talk to them
Yes,
first.
that's, so I don't have it.
All right.
It's not here.
You want to take a look at this? I think that's a nicely lawyered document because it asked us to indemnify the
Yeah.
estate, and which I normally like to avoid signing.
Yeah, we would too. But, yeah. Well, of course, if you already have the check.
Well, but we haven't deposited the
I
check
haven't
yet,
deposited
so,
it
I
yet.
mean, it,
Yeah.
so my question to you, it sounds like you haven't seen that, Bob, so, you know, it says that we release the estate from any claims that
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know whether the estate has properly managed the funds or paid out things that shouldn't have been. I mean,
Well, the other question would be, are they certifying to the city that we got the whole residue?
well, I'm sure they aren't, but to some degree, we're relying on the court having approved the final accounting of the estate that resulted in this amount.
Well,
So while you're chewing on that, we were just talking before you came in. Is it your thought that we should have some type of trust document?
no, my thought is that the terms of the will create the trust.
Okay, all right, and that's where I was going before,
Perfect.
so.
That's great.
All right, so I think the question is if you're comfortable with that document, or whether you think it needs to be amended in some way.
I don't think you have to sign a release to get the bequest, and this is, as you say, some loyalty thing from Pierce Atwood, mostly to protect Pierce Atwood.
Well, they're lawyers, we're lawyers. The question is
Yeah.
whether we can, I mean, I don't, we'd like to get this money and deposit it and start getting it to work for us. But I don't want to sign something that the city,
Well, why couldn't it be signed with everything else crossed out except we received a check?
They could.
well, that's true, but
Yeah, well,
that's not binding on them.
But it doesn't create the release either,
Which release?
the hold harmless.
Yeah.
Doesn't create an obligation on your part to hold them harmless if you don't sign it, if somebody doesn't sign it. Although I have to say, at some point, you just gotta be reasonable about it, I think. And in this particular case, I cannot imagine a problem.
You're saying you don't have a problem with signing that?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I'm the one I'll sign it.
Yeah, well, but you're signing it on behalf of the trustees. It's the trustees who are agreeing to each of those conditions. Do you guys want to look at this before? Okay. Yeah. Do you have extra copies?
I don't.
I get them in 2 seconds if you want.
All right. While he's doing that, let's.
So what's our vulnerability? They come back and make a claim against the funds, right?
Yeah, well, you'll see when it asks us to certify certain things that, the funds will only be used for the purposes of the trust. Now, we have to do that anyways, I don't have a problem with that. That if it turns out that the funds that we receive are excess in some way, that we'll
Right.
return the excess, and that will indemnify the estate from any claims made by presumably by some third party that we haven't done something proper with the funds we receive. Presumably, and when this is all done, that estate's going to close, certainly by the end of the year if it hasn't already done so. And so I don't see it as a big exposure. But
Me neither. And plus, like you said, the court will, if they haven't already signed off on this accounting.
yeah, so the issue more likely for us would be, so I'm sure that whatever is in there, remember, there are no heirs or anything anyway, so it would have been contested already. So what we receive is likely what we would get because the court has signed off on it. So
Can we get a copy of the court's final determination?
I'm sure we can if we want. We did get a copy of the first account, so what you're talking about is the final account that is filed with the court.
Yeah, P.S. Edward must have a copy of that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, just speculating a little bit, so if we were to use the funds for something that was inconsistent with the purposes,
Thanks.
then somebody might make a complaint. And what this asked us to do is, if whoever makes that complaint also files a complaint against the estate for turning the money over to us, then we agree to indemnify the estate.
So as I said, I don't think there's any legal obligation to sign this to get the money. But you at least have to tell them if you intend to deposit the check without signing it or anything.
This looks like it's something prepared by P.S. Edward.
Definitely.
Yeah, so,
And it's ordinarily the kind of thing we would not sign.
Yeah,
yeah, so it's, you know, it's fairly typical to get a receipt when you're delivering money to somebody, but oftentimes that receipt, and the receipts are sometimes filed with a probate court as part of it. It simply says, I acknowledge receipt of the amount of such and such, and that's it. So, you know, they're just putting in some extra benefits for the estate.
well, if you look at the first paragraph that ends, Tommy J. McCann, why can't we just add an acknowledged receipt of said check and then cross out the rest?
You could do that.
That's what I'd make a motion to do that.
Acknowledge receipt and deposit of the funds.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
All right. So recognizing your limited time here among us, are you going to be able to do this?
This morning.
Okay, all right. So if you could just keep that first paragraph and add the signature line below it, that should suffice. But again, I just want to, I mean, there's a,
Yeah, I'll do a little cover letter so they know what we're doing.
yeah, well, would you call this attorney, because we want to deposit this, and technically, if she sent this to us saying, we're giving you this money upon receipt of this document, then that's a conditional delivery.
Doesn't actually say that. Closes a check. Would you kindly sign the enclosed receipt, release, assent, and indemnification? Confirming receipt.
Yeah, you confirm the receipt.
Doesn't say before you deposit. I'll call her though. I've spoken with her on the
All
phone.
right,
She's
well,
very
that's-
pleasant.
just, if we can get this straightened out in the next
She's
day or
very
so.
pleasant. I'll call her. I'll tell her what we're going to do. Then we'll do it. Deposit the check and we have to
All right, so,
play it out. We'll play it out. But I do not anticipate an issue.
okay. So while I get you here, just on this subject, looking at the trust itself and understanding that we're not going to have a separate trust agreement, and Peter and I were talking about this, Dana, before you came in. So if you look at the purposes for the trust, it says that the rest resident of the remainder are delivered to the trustees of trust funds, used by them in their discretion to support the athletic programs at Portsmouth High School. In carrying out those instructions, it is my request that the trustees consider using these funds to maximize athletic opportunities for underprivileged students who might otherwise not be able to participate in sport.
Yeah.
So to your question, Dana, I think that language rules out using them in the community scholarship, because those are for Portsmouth High School students who are going to college. right? And this is for Portsmouth High School students.
Oh. But you-
And one of the things I said to Tom, Dana,
The
that,
community one is for the seacoast schools beyond Portsmouth.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not just Portsmouth High School. It's also for kids who have graduated from Portsmouth High Schools or other schools and are going on toward college.
Okay.
I think these have to be used for the high school itself, either high school.
I'm with you. I'm
Okay.
with you.
and they do have a number of unified programs at Portsmouth High School. I know they have basketball and I think volleyball programs for kids with disabilities.
Yeah, no, there are plenty of fees and
Yeah.
et cetera, so I get it.
And so my question to you, Bob, is, and we haven't had a chance to discuss this beyond right now, is if the school department was to come to us and say, you know, would you send us $50,000 because if we want to support our
Yep.
overall athletic programs?
Yep.
Do we have discretion to say no to that?
Absolutely. No question at all.
Okay.
This provides you with remarkable discretion, I think.
Okay. Any further thoughts on that?
The booster clubs will be very happy.
Yeah,
You know, we've taken, when we write trust, to try to actually make life easier for you by reducing the amount of discretion and putting in things like, if you get a written acknowledgement from the city manager that the requested expenditure satisfies the purposes for which the trust has been established, you shall make the payment. And then that's done for your benefit, so you don't have to make decisions about that. In this case, they've set it up quite the opposite. You make all the decisions. And
Okay.
so Mr. McCann wanted it done. Was this
no,
Mucker
very
McCann?
generous of him.
Was this Mucker McCann?
No. Tom went, he has a picture. It's, although it's, in the obituary, it says Mucker, but that's not how I recommend it.
Yeah.
Does that ring a bell?
I might remember. Ooh. Yeah. I'd say he aged a little bit.
Yeah,
Aged a little, I think it is.
but he's,
Heavily involved in the Daigle litigation.
Hey, can I see?
but looking at that obituary, that would make him quite a bit younger than I am, and Mucker, I'm thinking of, was older than me.
Older than you were?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, the Daigle litigation was 35 years ago. Time's flown, Peter.
Okay.
I think just to do Bob, we ought to pass a motion authorizing him to sign that with that
Envelope for the
change as receipt of the check.
Okay, we'll entertain that motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, what was the motion?
The motion is to
Authorize
authorize
Bob to sign
the receipt
receipt of the check.
as modified.
Thank you.
But
And you all agree?
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
But I'll call her first. I'll move it over.
Yep, appreciate that. Anything else that you want to talk with us about, Bob?
Yeah, this is my last probably trustee meeting.
Wow.
So the plan, which changes a little bit from time to time, is now that tonight is my last, not tonight, Monday night is my last city council meeting. And then I stay as a full-time employee till the end of September. And then gonna work without pay for a month. Because to do otherwise would jeopardize my pension. Under
The part where you're working or the part that you're without pay?
the part getting paid. City can't pay me for the month of October. But there's things that need to be done. I'm heavily involved in McIntyre, for example, that the new city attorney would not be reasonable to expect her to figure that out. So I'll just stay with it and do it. And then after my month of enforced charitable contributions to the city are over, then they're going to hire me, the city's going to hire me on some kind of a part-time capacity to the extent the retirement system allows, probably 25 hours a week or something like that, to do whatever they tell me to do at that point. And I think what the manager will tell me to do is to take half a dozen or so big cases, McIntyre, Coakley, Deer Street Associates, Boyle, some 5 number of ongoing matters that the current city attorney doesn't know anything about, and so she doesn't have to know anything about it. I'll just keep them. And to the extent there's time beyond that, they've created a little office for me upstairs, you know,
Good.
sit there and do what comes through the door, so.
But-
And that would continue indefinitely, I think.
But if we have inquiries after the end of the month, we'll reach out to Susan.
Yeah, I think in order for this to work, it's really important that, everybody treat her as who she is and treat me as who I am, which means go straight to her with stuff. I'll work it out from there. I get along with her fine. I think that's all. Okay.
Glad you're saying that, because remember, you're being recorded right now.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, it's been a pleasure having you as our counsel during these.
Yes, we appreciate your service. Terrific.
A long time.
We go, quite a journey.
Yeah, of course, remember, the trustees were so active for most of this time. Operating Prescott Park was
Oh, my God.
such a burdensome thing. But, it went well. And, most of the decisions, I think, got made in connection with the park really worked out. I think the trustees dealing with the Prescott Park Arts Festival in particular was a situation that could have got out of control and destroyed the park, frankly, turned it into Hampton Beach. But because of the work of the trustees, that did not happen.
Yeah, no,
I know we're digressing here, but, I've seen some of your comments on the public forum, and the trustees did have a limitation on the use of amplified sound in the park when the Arts Festival was in place. So,
That'll actually be in a memorandum that I've already written.
okay.
That will be at the council,
Right.
visit of the council Monday night.
I didn't know whether because I saw something where you said there's limitations one place but not another. But-
Yeah. The amplification limitation is complete in front of the North Church.
Is what?
Complete. Can't have amplification in front of the North Church. But you can in Prescott Park, except for a period of time before theatrical performances. This is a trustee decision. So it's all getting presented to the council, everything's going to them, and they will decide as much or as little of that as the council wants to re-implement as the public forum policy.
Are those the only 2 public forums in the?
No, there are others. There's one in Vaughan Mall, in particular, and these are designated public forums. Public forums can come into existence 2 different ways. One is by designation of the government, where they say that's a public forum. That's Prescott Park in front of the North Church and Vaughan Mall. Then they also come into existence by the government allowing people to use government property for expressive conduct or expressive purposes. And I don't think one use does it, but certainly a history of allowing a piece of property to be used, the front steps of City Hall, for example, would create a public forum, but not by designation. And we do not list any of that second type of public forum in the city, but we do list the designated ones.
In your memorandum, will it stipulate that all signs and flags have to be held by a person?
Once the area becomes a public forum by designation or otherwise, the government is severely limited in the manner in which it can regulate what goes on there. The basic rule being that the authority of the city, any government, in a public forum area is to adopt reasonable time, place, and manner regulations that are content neutral or viewpoint neutral. And the past trustee actions towards the public forum area fit within that limitation pretty well. But what happened was, for the most part, the expressive conduct in the park was not monitored carefully. A lot of it happens on weekends when the city has very few people working. So things started happening out there that were beyond the scope of the trustee policy and beyond the scope of the area designated by the trustees. So basically, it got out of control a little bit. And that became apparent these past 2 summers, this summer in particular, when there were pro-Trump groups demonstrating in the park, to the absolute consternation of a large number of people in the city. So it brought the matter to the head. We investigated. I wrote one memo about this sort of factual middle of summer. And then the one Monday night is picking up where that one left off and recommending some reasonable time, place, and manner, content, or viewpoint neutral regulations for the city council to adopt now. And I expect the council will do it. And among other things, I'm recommending that the area be posted and that the rules be posted and that the area be monitored. Somebody needs to go over on a Saturday or Sunday and just see what's happening so that the city can maintain control of activity in the public forum area.
So that would be Prescott Park, North Church, Vaughan Mall.
The one on Monday night deals only with Prescott Park,
Oh, really?
but it should at some point deal with the others as well.
So who's going to be in charge of policing the?
We don't know. My recommendation Monday night is that the city council refer this matter to the city manager to determine a manner for the park to be monitored on weekends. Theoretically, on weekends, the police are working, but I'm not really comfortable with the idea of having police involved in regulating speech. It seems like a bad mix to me, headed to trouble. It would be better, the speech issues are more civil than criminal. They're not criminal at all. And so having the police go do it seems like a problem, and I don't think the police have a lot of enthusiasm for this anyway. So on the weekend, there's not really anybody else guaranteed to be working. On other issues, at other times, the city has designated people to come in on weekends. Jason Page, for example, has been told, rather than work on Friday this week, come in on Saturday, come in on Sunday and look at something. So that might be an option. That's a likely option. But the manager will think of something. She's very much involved in these public forum issues. She understands what's going on and will make the necessary decisions.
Okay. Other questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll take care of this thing. It'll be done in a few minutes.
This, Bob, is because you weren't able to make it for lunch on
Yeah.
Monday.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Go take a nap now.
You know, of course, I've known all of you for decades.
Known everybody for decades.
Yeah. And except for Peter, I've always liked you. And most of the time, I like Peter too.
Except 40 years ago at your first council meeting. He doesn't like to be told to sit down and shut up.
Yeah, that's right.
You did a great job. Thank you, Bob.
I could see anyone.
All right, thank you.
Bob, this is for you.
All right, thank you.
We'll see you next week, or 2 weeks, I guess. Okay. TD Wealth Management.
Okay, can I ask a question on this?
On which, on the,
On the funds?
yeah,
Given the specific purpose for it, how are we going to track it or keep it separate or designate it in our tracking?
well, it would be
We do
like,
it the same way we do all of them. I literally will set up a separate fund for it. and
Okay,
those-
so we'll have a separate fund just.
Absolutely, Tom and McCann Trust, or award, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
yes.
Right, it won't be a city trust document, just his will.
Just the will, which we have several like that.
Oh, we
Some-
do? Okay.
They're older, but we do have some.
Okay.
Yep,
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
yeah, I think if, with some of them where the donors were going to go out and raise additional monies, we went ahead and did a trust agreement with them.
Yeah,
But if it was just, we get a check in the mail from some estate saying a clause in the will said that this money should go toward a scholarship, we just take the money.
so should we, once this is all deposited, do we notify the school department, Tom Kozakowski, let him know this is available?
Yeah, we probably ought to give some thought to creating a process for this, because this won't be handled by the guidance
No.
Yeah.
department. And,
I would listen, not in the
We have
October
several.
meeting, TD is coming.
Yes, that's correct.
I would like to request that in the November meeting, we invite Cos to come to let him know that we've accepted this money and,
yeah.
We have several, there's a student council trust that does not go through the guidance office. There's the band money that does not go through the guidance office, and the responsible party at the high school, whether it's the music instructor, whatever, every couple of years they want to go to Florida for a competition or whatever, they come and present to the trustees. So I
Yeah.
assume this will be the same, but maybe with cause or something, so.
I take it by reading this, we're limited to the high school as opposed to Portsmouth athletics in general.
That's what I read it, and
It does say high school.
that's why I say
because when I first thought of it, I thought of Little League, I thought
Yeah,
of Babe
yeah.
Ruth League.
Well, all the little kids' leagues, soccer, everything, basketball.
Yeah, and I think it pretty much has to be the athletic programs at Portsmouth High School, and then that second sentence further clarifies to suggest that it should maximize the opportunities for underprivileged, so I think that's the purpose for the conversation with
Right.
Cause.
So I'd like to invite him for the November meeting.
I made a note, so I would do that.
And we probably ought to we give some thought to what you'd want to see by way of sort of in writing, or, because we're not going to have a sign-off by the city manager.
What I can do is pull what the high school, again, the music teacher, similar, you can see that, see if that will suffice. It was a written request saying we would like to request the funds for, but I can pull that together and bring that in as well.
See, we're going to have all sorts of issues, just like Bob said, because we have so much discretion. We're going to have to decide whether we want to do it like many of the existing trusts where we only pay out on earnings, or whether we're going to allow principal to be paid out annually, and how much annually.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to come up with some formula,
Kind of a
methodology on
guideline.
it,
Yeah.
guidelines.
Yeah.
I guess Tom can give us some view on that,
Tom,
Kozakowski.
yeah. Yeah, if it's an issue, we can reach out to Tom Donovan at the Charitable
Right.
Trust Unit.
He was just made Division I Athletic Director of the Year.
That's a big award, big.
Tom, just as a follow-up, I did, hang on, let me sit back down.
Thank you.
I did forward, Tom, to John DeQuattro at TD, the sample of the,
Peer review?
yes, the
Yep.
peer review. I have not heard back from him. I copied both him and Suzanne on it, saying this is what trustees have received in the past. This is, they would appreciate being able to receive something similar to this. And I said, if you could bring something for the October meeting, so I did forward it.
Okay.
Okay?
I copied you folks on
Yeah,
that.
that was great.
So August was down a little bit, as you can see. Not as severe as some previous months, but if you look at them, you know, the second month-to-month performance, TD Wealth, so that's comparing August basically to August through that time period. We've had other periods where it was down more than the 3.53%, but still very up and down still.
And on the first page, Judy,
Yes,
where it says includes payouts
right.
this month from investment funds.
If I had requested any funds, payouts of that, I would have put an amount there for you, but I did not request.
There were not, okay.
Yes.
So I can just put a 0.
Correct.
So everything went down was market related.
That is correct. That is correct. And I can put zeros there too as well, so that next month, you know. And then the last page is the data since inception. So overall, since inception, it's down, but circumstances have been
What was the inception date?
April of
April.
2021,
Okay. That was with TD.
correct. I still have to put together the other one for you, it's just,
Okay.
yeah,
It's,
since inception, but, you know, the very first time you invested, which is like 2006 or something.
How come on some of these you have them highlighted in yellow?
Those, the ones in yellow, if you look at that line, those are highlighted in yellow because we had withdrawals taking out. So I wanted to highlight those months so that it looks like we're down a lot, but we had distributions
Oh,
out
I
of the
see.
funds.
I
Yeah.
see. Yeah, okay.
So I just wanted to highlight that.
And Judy, can you send these to me electronically?
Yes, would you like them prior to when I send out the agenda and the meeting minutes and that stuff? Or do you just want a copy of these?
I'm just trying to get rid of paper stuff. It's accumulating.
I can send them electronically.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep.
I still want my paper.
Yeah. Well, I don't have capacity for these larger size copies, so
What I will do is I will send it to you electronically, and I will also print them out for the meeting.
that'd be great.
Okay.
Okay.
That'd be great. Okay.
Okay,
Questions on these or comments?
and they are coming next month, and they are slated in.
Did he rearrange his schedule? Or, I remember when we first, he wasn't going to be available when we set the meeting.
He is all set on that date, and Suzanne will not be attending in person. However, she'd like to Zoom in, so I will set that up so that she can attend via Zoom.
Okay.
Okay. And that is October 20, it's late in the month.
Yeah,
October 25th? Nope. 26th, Wednesday.
26,
Yeah.
that's what I have.
oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute, oh, God.
Is that not good for
Oh,
you?
God, I'm screwed. Wait a minute. I do, I'm screwing up the works. I might have to Zoom too.
That's fine, Dana.
Yeah.
That's easy. Yeah, that's easy.
Are you heading south by then?
No, I have a meeting, I'll be in New York City.
To be honest, Dana, I seem to recall you saying to me when we were setting it up that you might need to Zoom on that meeting.
So we'll keep it on that date then, Dana?
Yes, I'll, if there, yes. Let's
Okay.
keep it.
Because if you,
Yeah.
did John say when?
He was very tight in October, that's all I knew, and we had to kind of go back and forth to make sure. I mean, I'd have to reach back out and see when he's available, and I have no idea what his schedule is.
Okay. All right. Okay, anything else on TD or related to that? Okay. Then we get some checks to sign?
I do, just briefly, I did forward an email from Stephanie yesterday that she had made some changes on the website. I forwarded it to you all with the link for you to check out, and she
Right.
said she'd be happy to come back in a couple of months
Okay.
if you want her to come back in, so. And I know I owe you that list, and I have not forgotten it.
Yep.
The update. These are scholarship checks. There's only 4.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Are we talking about Stephanie's changes, or are we doing that at a different time?
No, she sent the email, so
Yeah.
just take a look at it when you have a chance. and-
Oh, I did. I made some notes, but we can. go
Okay, all
over
right.
them anytime.
Well, she'll come back in again, or you could send her the comments if you want.
Okay,
and she
I'll
can-
do that, and I'll copy
Yeah,
everybody.
copy us, and that way she can continue to work on it a little bit at a
I know you
time.
like to see what schools.
Yeah. Okay. I don't even need to sign it. Great.
No, you don't need to sign them, I just know you like
Yeah,
to see the
thanks.
schools, Ithaca.
Oh, that's where
And
my daughter
University
went.
of
Who's
Utah.
this? Sydney Dolan, how much? 25.
Yeah, and then University of Utah.
Wow, interesting. Thank you.
Any other checks, anything?
No, that's it.
Anything else at all?
Nope. That's it.
Any new business, gentlemen?
No public comment,
Oh, well.
looks like.
Unless it's a ghost, but, yeah. Okay, well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.